Your mess is your message. Your brokenness is the link to your brilliance.
Welcome to the Kingspiration podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
All right, so on today's episode of Kingspiration, Justin and I are going to share quotes that resonated with us, maybe a quote that we encountered this week or some message or micro script. And we'll kind of riff on that a little bit and tell some stories of how you can use this to create life hacks in your personal life and in your business. So a couple of quotes I heard this week, and forgive me, I don't know who to attribute these to because I've heard them several different places. But one is, your mess is your message. And I've also heard that phrase like this: your brokenness is the link to your brilliance. And what that means is that the things that we've all made mistakes in our lives, we've all had hardships that we've encountered and struggles that we've overcome. And a lot of times we try to keep those under the rug, and because we're ashamed of them, we don't want anyone to know. But that mess, when you share your story, your journey, that's what impacts others and helps others overcome. And that's what really resonates with people, especially if you're doing any type of teaching, coaching, public speaking. Dig deep and go vulnerable and share those moments that you overcame in your life, that you struggled with, because other people are struggling. Everyone's struggling with stuff too. So that makes you relatable. And it also helps people see that kind of that heroic journey of, I was here and now I'm here. This is how I got there. And that's a great way to teach and to inspire people. This happens in my life, and I share this a lot of times when I'm teaching about storytelling in my talks. Through accident, actually my first EO forum training, we shared these things called lifelines, where we had to plot. A lifeline is if you took a sheet of paper and from left to right, left is your birth and right is your current age, and you drew a line, and then you mapped out this timeline of your life, not every detail, but only the very lowest points in your life and the very highest points in your life. And like, when did those happen? So I had never shared this vulnerably, and I did in a meeting that was confidential. And I shared some of the darkest moments in my life, like the pain of my parents' divorce. And then when I got arrested twice when I was 19 years old and got suspended from college, like, these are things that I didn't want anyone to know about. I shared them in this meeting. And another guy in the meeting came to me afterwards and he said, "Man, your story was so impactful. I have a reporter friend who I'd like you to speak with, and I think it would just be a great connection." And I was like, dude, I don't want to talk to a reporter. This is stuff I didn't want anyone to know about. I shared stuff about how I was working at a strip club, taking out the trash, and it was humiliating. Then I got carjacked, like all of this stuff. And so I talked to this reporter, and I was like, yeah, I don't know why Kevin wanted me to talk to you. And the reporter just asked me all these questions. And for some reason, I just shared all these vulnerable moments with the reporter. Like, yeah, I don't know if you would find this interesting. The reporter's like, "Are you crazy? This is so carjackings, strip clubs." And I told him about my business too. But it's funny. I mean, it's just that got a brief mention. So this article got published 2 weeks later. I was on the front page of the business section in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is like our biggest newspaper in Atlanta. And all these people were like blowing up my phone. It was like, holy crap. But the article wasn't about my business accolades. It was about those vulnerable moments in the carjack. I think the headline said, "Business owner has epiphany at gunpoint." So it talked about how that moment when I got robbed really caused me to take a different direction in my life. And he said that story was his most shared story out of his entire Secrets of Success column. So that taught me that, well, It told me two things. One, well, the cat was out of the bag. At this point, my information was no longer private. So I figured, well, I might as well share it publicly if it's having such a positive effect on people. So that kind of set me down my speaking journey. But two, it also taught me to share vulnerably and share those lows. Because if you go out there and you just talk about all of your accolades and all of your highest moments, then you just come off as like a douchebag and arrogant, and nobody likes it. And nobody learns anything from it. Nobody's inspired from it. They just dislike you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it acts like a magnet. You were speaking about the lifeline exercise that you did, and let's be honest, if you drew a line straight down the middle between those highs and those lows, if you had to apply it to social media, the highs are everything that gets shared on Instagram. The highs are everything that gets shared on Facebook, whatever it is. The lows are the moments that nobody wants to share publicly.
Right.
And everybody knows that it's not authentic. Although we all, I mean, everybody's comparing themselves to it. But if you have a conversation with somebody else, you know that what is being just shown on social media is not authentic. That's not real. That people's lives are not all like that. So with that lens, when you show up in person, when you're coaching somebody, when you're facilitating a session, when you're part of a chapter or an EO chapter and forum like you are, if that is all you're sharing, people are very quickly not going to think that you're being authentic. But as soon as you open up and you use the word vulnerability, as soon as you show any form of vulnerability, it's not easy, but it's such a magnet and people respect it so much. Brene Brown always speaks about vulnerability as the first thing that we look for in others, and it's the last thing that we're willing to share in ourselves. But it becomes a real superpower if you use it in the right way, and if you are using it for the right reasons. It's an absolute superpower to really show that you're human. Your mess can now become this wonderful message. Or for people that feel that they are broken, look into that for strength.
Yeah.
It does make me think of post-traumatic growth. So we all think about post-traumatic stress, but PTG, post-traumatic growth, is a real thing as well. So if you've got this mess that is following you, you've got this brokenness that you feel is there, if you feel that you've got so much baggage that you're taking with you, it's a wonderful way to look at it as a catalyst to really drive yourself, your life forward, and also drive others forward.
Yeah.
My mess is the fact that I got divorced 2.5 years ago. So that is there. And I haven't quite figured out how that becomes a message as of yet, but it's part of who I am. So not necessarily always putting that on the table, but the experiences and the growth and the development and the time that I've invested in myself off the back of that is going to start becoming my message. So it's not necessarily that one thing, but it will translate into something as well. So that resonated with me massively.
Yeah.
I love it. It's not always so easy to remember that though. It's a wonderful line, but it's not so easy to practice and to remember.
Right. Because we want to have our guard up all the time. But, another one that comes to mind is I either win or I learn. I never lose. Right. So from your divorce and something in there, and you may still be, some lessons take longer to learn, but in everything that you encounter, you either win or you learn. You never look at it as a loss or as a failure, but as a learning experience.
Yeah. Or the lens of this has happened for you, not to you.
Right.
That's Ed Milet speaks about that a lot. This has happened for you, not to you. So if you can start looking at things through that lens, it's very powerful.
For sure. I think that's a good place to wrap. I think we should talk about your quote on the next episode, but to give our viewers and our listeners some takeaways here, your trauma is your triumph. Your mess is your message. Your brokenness is the link to your brilliance. So lean into your vulnerability.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.